All right, welcome to New Directions Women's Fitness Podcast. I am here with Kristina, who is going to share with us her incredible story of losing 15 kilograms in 16 weeks and basically how she overcame her fears and the thoughts that were saying, I've tried everything, nothing has ever worked, why would this time be any different? And obviously this time was different. So welcome, Kristina.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very, very excited. And I think the girls are going to really, really appreciate your story and learning about you and what you've done. So let's dive into it.
Awesome.
Okay. So what I would like you to help us with is basically give us a quick overview of who Kristina was post or pre 4 months ago and what was going on with her and maybe what were some of the problems that you felt you had and that you wanted to solve.
Yeah, so I think in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, I noticed a lot of weight gain, and that was probably due to the fact that I was really unhappy in my life. A lot of things. I was always really tired. Food was comfort. It was something I always turned to when I was down. And that caused a lot of issues, obviously physically, and also with my health. As I was saying, I was always really tired, lethargic, bloated. And then obviously as a result of increased food intake, my clothes started to not fit me anymore. And then that led to me being quite isolated and not wanting to go out because I was quite embarrassed about how I looked. I became very antisocial as a result of that. And really kept to myself and would avoid social interactions. I spent a lot of time sitting, isolating myself, studying at home, avoiding going even to the supermarket or to parties if I got invited. It really did make a really big impact on my life. Socially, but also in terms of my self-esteem and confidence. Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to allude to something as well, which was you were in a relationship beforehand.
Yes.
I want to back it up even further. To just can you tell us a little bit about also kind of your previous fitness levels through high school and then how things changed and
yeah, of course. So I was a size 10 back in year 11, and then year 12 sort of was the beginning of it, and there was a lot of studying and a lot of sitting. And then I got my license, which meant that I wasn't as physical. And then university started, and I had 2 jobs, and I was I was doing a double degree as well. I was very unhappy doing that. And then I got into a long-term relationship, which was quite toxic, and I sort of lost myself in the process. That's where the weight started gaining, and I was very unhappy, and I felt like I couldn't get myself out of it. And it was like that for many years after high school finished, and then and that's where the isolation came as well with friends and the weight gain, and then I couldn't manage it very well in terms of working 2 jobs in uni, which meant that I used to eat late at night. So I was working in hospitality, finishing at 1 o'clock and then having meals. So lots of bad eating habits eventuated from that. And then, quick meals as well, being able to not juggle to and from. I worked in a bakery, which meant that I was exposed to lots of carbs and sugary pastries and all the lovely things that we all like to have. It wasn't probably a really good job for me. And then I think it just got to a point where I did try other things, like other trainers and different diets and Herbalife and the detox diets that are out there, and nothing really worked. I wasn't seeing any results, and I became very discouraged to the point where I thought that this was it. This is who I was. I was going to always be overweight, and I was never going to be that size 10 again. So part of me was defeated. Absolutely, yeah. And it was just a matter of acceptance of who I was, and friends and family did become very concerned about my weight over those years, and I was avoiding it, in denial about certain things, about my lifestyle, and there was really no motivation because of that. Being in that toxic relationship, it made it very hard. My partner really liked the way that I was in terms of being a bigger girl, and it made it very difficult. Even though I wasn't happy within myself, he was willing to accept me for who I was. So that was really, hard for me to try and shift that mindset to be like, no, but this is not healthy. So.
And that could easily be seen as a positive as well, couldn't it? Where you're like, oh, fantastic, my partner loves me any way possible, and so you're like, fantastic, I've found the perfect man. And I guess the only way to almost test that is if you do kind of get into great shape, and then you test if they're still comfortable with that.
He was also a really bad influence, so it wasn't like we could ever do it together, which was a shame, but yeah.
And so then fast forwarding a little bit, and can you run us through maybe just before we met, maybe that month, because I know you'd started to make changes then.
Yeah.
And then basically I felt like it was more like when we got together, it was putting fuel on the fire. So and that's obviously coming from me, so I want to hear it from you.
So it was really funny because I had booked a trip with my mum for her birthday to go to Thailand, and we did a lot of walking over there. I had a fantastic time, was doing yoga on the beach, and being quite active, and I just felt so good about myself. And it was like something that kick-started me, and I came back to Melbourne, and I broke off with my partner because I realised, like, being away for those 10 days, I was just such a happier person. So I think that trip was like a lifesaver for me. And then I started walking. That was when I was back in high school, that's what I used to do. I used to go for like these 3-hour walks, and I think that's how I sort of managed my weight back then. So I thought, well, this is what's worked in the past. I'm going to try it again. So I started walking, and I felt good. It made me feel really good. I loved going to the park and seeing other people walking as well with their dogs, and people being active. And it was just, it was just something that really, I was just like, I'm just going to keep doing this. It just feels good. And it got me out of the house. And when I was studying at working, it sort of was a getaway from everything, and just to, take my mind off everything. So that's where it all sort of started. And I was doing that for a good month and a bit. And then I just, someone was like, how about upping it up a little bit and maybe going to a personal trainer? And I was very hesitant, I must admit. And because it was, I thought back to those previous experiences, having a trainer, and how that, it didn't work out. And I was like, what if I fail again? And, the last trainer wasn't great in terms of commitment. And I felt like, maybe I was, I was too hard to save. I was too hard to work with, and, that person would give up on me. So I was very hesitant. So I just said, you know what, if I don't try, then I'm never going to know. I'm never going to know. So I'm really glad that I did. It was life-changing.
I do remember that first conversation. It was a very interesting conversation, because you're essentially like, you were like, okay, so I want to do this thing. I want to do it like six weeks from now, maybe a month. But also, every other time I've tried to do this, it failed. And then when we went through it, you were like, oh, all of those were times it actually failed because the other person dropped out. And so it's
like something wrong with me that I just wanted to run away.
I never even considered it like you going, oh, it's about me. I just went, these are lazy trainers that were like, cool, I'm going to do this for 6 months, then move on. And 6 months is not a long time, especially if a journey is going to take 6 months, a year or so, then that's a great thing as well, because it means that like you completely change as a person. Like it's not a small thing. It changes the trajectory of your whole life. But anyway, so I was hearing all of that, and then I was like, I've been doing this a long time.
I'm laughing now because I can just remember like my old self being like, you know how I said, oh, I'll start in 6 weeks. That's just so typical of the old me. Just to keep putting it off and saying, I'll start Monday. Yeah. And so that doesn't surprise me.
So here's a common theme sometimes when you just tomorrow. Okay, so what were your, when we first, because I've never asked you this, so when we did first meet in person, and you know, that first 2 weeks, but especially the first meeting, like how did you feel, and what were your initial reactions and everything?
Oh, I was petrified of meeting you. I was thinking in my head quite negative thoughts, and that's probably not because of you, Matt, but because of the experiences that I had. And it was like, oh, here we go again. I'm going to stuff this one up again. Like, how am I going to fail this time? And I was really convinced that I was going to be overweight forever. Yeah. I really had that mindset that this was who I am, and because my family are you know, they're all quite overweight, and food is a massive part of who we are. I just thought that I would never be able to shake it. But then again, like a part of me was like, I got to do it. I got to lose this. I've got to do this for my health, for my future. So, but you made me feel really comfortable. Like I remember meeting in that coffee shop, and we went through everything together, and you reassured me that you weren't going to like give up on me. And I think that was really big for me. And your commitment along the way has shown that absolutely, that I know you've always got my back. And that's pretty much 90% of it for me, is that someone that's that can back me and isn't going to walk out on me through this process, because it really is difficult, emotionally and physically.
Thank you.
Don't tear up on me now.
Okay. Sticking to the questions.
Yes.
So first 2 weeks. So something that I take a lot of the girls through when it comes to weight loss is what I call the snowball method. And so through those first 2 weeks, we really worked on just getting your workout routine kind of standardized. Like, you were already doing the walking, which is fantastic. You're already losing weight at least every 2 weeks, if not every week. Like, everything had changed. The trajectory had changed. And then we started to bring in your nutrition. And so the first step was bringing in the 12-12. How did you find that? So the 12-12 being to eat within 12-hour time slots, so like from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., for example. So then you would fast for 12 hours. How did you find that?
Yeah, so the fasting I had done previously with a naturopath. So I was familiar with the diet. So it wasn't too hard, because I had actually done it within the last year or so. The 12-hour fasting was the difficult bit, not eating after a certain time, because I would snack on my sugary stuff, in front of the TV at 9 o'clock at night. Cutting out sugar was really difficult for me. I remember getting like headaches and things like that from the withdrawals, which was just absolutely yucky. I do remember that in the first, when I did start to change my diet. But in terms of diet, like the diet and the fasting I felt great, especially training in the morning after the fasting. I felt like I had so much more energy. And I used to train better as well, I would find. So it is a change. Absolutely. It is difficult, especially coming from a diet where you don't really think about eating healthy. You just eat whatever you want, in comparison to being quite structured in what you eat. But all the food that I do eat now, like, it's become so part of my normal routine. It's just like, I know when I eat bad things like sugary or high processed carbs or anything like that, I feel really sluggish. So when I do eat the healthy stuff, I feel so much better. So now it's just like, well, you can either feel crappy about eating that stuff, or you can eat the really good stuff that's nutritious and feel good. So yeah, it was a big adjustment in the beginning, because I was strictly just eating whatever I wanted. But yeah, the fasting and stuff's been great. Absolutely. And I've seen like how, and it's really, after a while, like, you get used to it. You really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then it did step up with the 5-2 diet.
Yeah.
So that first day that you did, the 600 to 800 calories.
Yeah.
How bad was that?
Oh, crazy. Oh. It was I remember it was like a lot of it's like just like clear soup, like, no, but you get used to it. As I said, it's just an adjustment. It's like anything, like exercising, like going from no exercise to to training every day. Your body adapts. So but yeah, as I said, like, the calories, the 800 or the 6 to 800, it just becomes structured now. I know Wednesdays and Fridays are my days, and this is what I've got to eat, and it's already prepped and ready to go. So it's, and I just if I do get hungry, I just top up on water and keep myself really busy. It's just really important to keep really busy on those days, because if it's dragging, you're really feeling it. You really are.
Counting down the minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and so as you started to, each week, as we would do a weigh-in,
yeah.
And ideally I didn't want you weighing in outside of that too much, but anyway, so as that happened, can you run me through the emotions of jumping on the scales each time? And for a period of time I did hide the scales from you, so that you didn't actually know the numbers. And you just knew if you were going down or not, and obviously by how much.
That helps, absolutely. I think even now, like, I'm scared to know exactly what it is, and that's because I think in my mind it's like, how did I let myself go so far, like, to this point? So as long as I know I'm making an improvement every week, that's what motivates me. Stepping on the scales, look, it's a mixed feeling. Like, sometimes I'm like, I've done so well this week. Like, I've done really well. I've done everything. And there might not be much of a difference. And I've come to terms with that is okay. And there's some weeks where I feel like I've done it right, but I could have done better, and I've seen a difference. So it really depends. I think if you give it all you've got, and you stick by what you need to do in terms of food-wise, you will lose it. You will lose it. You just got to be really disciplined. It's not an easy process, but it's well worth it. It is really worth it. So yeah, in terms of the progress, it's been really up and down. Like, some weeks I lose 800 grams, and then other weeks, I think the most I've lost is 2.7. So it varies a lot, and that's probably, Matt and I've obviously discussed, like, when it does happen, it's only 800 grams, and I'm a little bit, disheartened. It's because of other things that are happening in my life. So it's good to not sort of beat yourself up over that stuff as well, and just acknowledge that and realize that, okay, next week I need to do this, and set a plan in place.
And at what point did, like, because obviously, so I like to always say, okay, so collect your first 5 kilograms of weight loss, and instead of going, okay, I must hit 25, and if I haven't hit 25, then obviously it was a complete waste of time. Instead, so that black and white thinking, instead kind of, it's more like a collection. You're like, okay, I've got my first 5, and then I've got my next 5, and then wow, I'm up to 15 now. That's crazy. At what point did you start to go, oh, I'm really making progress here, and like, I just have to, obviously stick to the routine and keep it rolling? at what point did you kind of go, okay, this is working?
Everyone at work was making comments. My clothes were starting to feel so much better. I'm now wearing clothes that I hadn't worn in 5 years, which is just blown me away. A really big thing for me would be fitting into clothes, like being able to go into clothes shops that didn't have my size, and now being able to wear those clothes again. To me, that's amazing. Like I think that's been the biggest thing for me as a 27-year-old girl. Going to shops that are plus size in comparison to going into Forever New now or Country Road, where I didn't have that option, and it's very hard to find nice clothes for girls my age that go out and looking prima donnas and really nice and fancy. I couldn't dress the way that I wanted to dress. So for me, I think that's been like the wow, this is working. You need to keep doing this. Yeah.
And so that now is just kind of like almost self-fulfilling, or as far as that snowball goes, it's like it's got the momentum, it's big, it's heavy, it's flowing. it is
absolutely,
it is free falling.
Absolutely, yeah. And people even saying like, you're looking great, like well done, keep doing what you're doing, it's working. In comparison to when I was with my my last trainers, it was like an absolute struggle, and it was just like no progress, and the training sessions were really intense, and I wasn't managing very well with the food and everything, but everyone's been great, like in terms of like the support I've had from certain people in my life. So I've been very lucky.
Okay, I'm gonna flip that on its head now.
Yep.
So I
thought you might do that.
Yeah. So as you know, I warn all of the girls that as you drop like that 5, 10, 15, it starts off with private wins. And everything's like, oh, fantastic! I'm doing these things, and then I'm making it happen. And then, oh, I know that I've lost, maybe 5, 10 kilograms, but no one else has really noticed yet. And then, bang! Everyone else starts noticing. And at first, it might feel like a wonderful thing because you're like, yes, people are noticing, which means clearly I've made improvement. But the flip side of that is that potentially some of the people that maybe will feel self-conscious about your progress, and because it will make them reflect on maybe something that they wanted to do that they haven't been able to achieve for themselves, and that can then kind of backlash. So can you open up a little bit about, and you don't have to say like direct people or anything, but can you tell us a little bit about times in which you thought you were going to be supported by someone and maybe that didn't really happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So people at work, we've got actually quite a few in the industry that I work with. A lot of this being caseworker, we do a lot of sitting, so there is quite a few people that do have, obviously, are overweight or have some weight issues. So yeah, I did have one of the managers come up to me and have a bit of a crack behind my back about my weight. So look, I think it's in, and I think when it did happen, it does hurt, but I think Matt really prepared me for that prior to that sort of happening, and I think made me realize that maybe I was putting a mirror up to him and realizing that it's not me personally, it might be something that he's struggling with himself, that he feels that he needs to make comments like that about me. So I think it's good to just step back and think about why that person may be saying those things, and it could be potentially that they're not happy with something within themselves. Another major person that's really probably struggled to come to terms with my weight loss is my mother. And it's because we live together, and I think when one person sort of rocks the boat and things start to change in terms of cooking dinner together and things like that, she wasn't always on board with what we would have for dinner. So we're actually, for a long time, I think for the first 2 months, we were cooking separately. And that would cause a lot of conflict. Or why can't we have the same meal? And your cooking is so difficult. Like, I don't know what to cook for you anymore. And so it became quite a big deal. And I think that's because we've been eating like this for so long. It's just become the norm for her. So coming to say that no, this is not how I want to do this anymore. This is what I want to eat. And I've made this choice. You can either really, be on board with this, or we can continue to cook separately. So, so she's definitely come around the last month or so.
Amazing.
So, we cooked tacos, the taco salad that just put up. If you guys haven't seen it, you should really look. It's really yum. We made that last night, and we do pumpkin soups together and all sorts of stuff. So, and she's realised, she's saying, that I am losing weight, and she said, look, if I can lose a kilo or two by just eating better, then we should cook together. And I think she's probably like, oh, I can't be able to cooking 2 different meals anymore. I've got to conform. So, I'm glad to have her on board now.
Fantastic. Well, that's a wonderful story of a turnaround as well. That's wonderful. It's also a sign of you creating trends. Okay. All right. So, can you run us through, because we haven't really spoken about the exercise yet. So can you run us through from week to week, basically, what's happening Monday to Sunday, and also we should probably talk about running as well, and how that progressed. But to begin with, week to week.
Yeah. So it pretty much started with me walking, and it was 2 laps around the park, and then it was 4 laps, and then it was 8 and 10, and then I sort of got to a point where I was like, I need to start maybe doing some more. So that's how personal training kicked in, and then pretty much Matt sort of said, well, get on the bike. Get on that bike.
So I'm going to interrupt slightly. So what I said was, yes, definitely get on the bike. And also, you really wanted to run. And
yes.
you basically just went, all right, I'm going to go straight from walking to running. And you were like, oh my God, my shins are killing me. And so unfortunately, what happens at the beginning is when you are a little bit heavier, then you're more susceptible to having shin splints because of the impact. And so, your response was, well, let's just keep on running and we'll make it happen. And I was like, no, you're going to ruin your shins, and then you're going to get upset because then you're going to have to give up, and then you're going to be furious. And so I was like, no, what we're going to do is we're going to obviously lighten up, and we're gonna burn even more energy on the bike anyway. We're going to have less likelihood of an injury. And then when the time's ready, we can go into jogging. But anyway, back to your...
That is true. I did forget that.
Back to your
How
Monday
could I forget
to
the shin splits? I don't know. But that did happen. So so I was on the bike for a long time before I was able to get myself jogging, and the splint shits went away. So I think I started on level 6 on the bike, and then I made it sort of a goal to myself that every week I would up it. So I went from level 6 to 7 to eventually, I think my highest is 15. So crazy. But that definitely drove me. Absolutely. Every week I would up it one level.
How many days a week were you on the bike at that point?
Probably 3 to 4.
So we've got 2 personal training sessions.
Yeah.
We've got 3 bike rides.
Yeah.
Plus the walking.
At that point. Yeah. And then after that, that's when Matt was like, all right, we're upping it. We're going to throw in some of your old school talents. So I used to be a competitive swimmer in my heyday. I haven't been in a pool for years, absolutely years, petrified of putting on a swimsuit. So I managed to get myself in it. and down to the pool. I went late after everyone had done their swimming lessons because there was no way I was going to let anyone see me. And I sat on the bench, I remember, and I waited for everyone to leave before I took off my clothes to jump in.
Ironically, you would have been, all those other people would have probably been 70 or 80 years old.
Irrelevant. Irrelevant.
Please go on.
Anyways, besides the point. So yeah, I jumped in and I set a goal for myself to do swimming on Mondays every week. And it happened. It did. Mm-hmm. It was something I really loved doing, and it really made me made me feel alive again. And being able to have that, the aerobic exercise and going up and down the laps was great. So it's something that I've just incorporated part of my routine. So that was Mondays. So I'd have my session with Matt on Mondays, and then after I'd go for my swim. And then Tuesdays, Matt would give me a routine exercise on the app that I would follow. So basic squats and little exercises on Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays I'd throw in my walk. Wednesdays throw in my walk. Thursdays I'd have training with Matt. And then Friday I'd hit the gym after work. And then Saturday and Sundays I'd usually do, leisure activities that were quite active.
And there was soccer in there as well.
Yeah, and then later on I joined soccer on Thursdays. So that was great. I'm so glad that happened. We actually organised that for a guy at work that lost his wife due to cancer, left 2 young kids behind. So we thought it'd be a really good idea to start a soccer team. So I was put my hand in for that. That's how that happened. So now I'm doing swimming once a week, soccer on Thursdays, Matt twice a week, throwing in a walk every so often, and gym whenever I can.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Busy, absolutely. Awesome. And you will be doing a triathlon very soon.
Yes.
It's okay. It can be the indoor triathlon. That's fine.
Oh,
it can be
you
the indoor
accept
triathlon.
that? Oh.
I have, but at the same time, it just means with everything else we've just spoken about, I think it will progress rapidly to an outdoor triathlon.
Yeah.
It's only the start of spring, so there's plenty of time. This is really insightful. So I think we definitely appreciate everything. So I've got to dig a little deeper. All right, so because obviously when people hear, because you've essentially lost 1 kilogram a week on average, right? And so when people hear that, they go, wow, that sounds so fast and rapid. And that is fast and rapid. But when you're living it, is it fast or is it boring?
I wouldn't say it's boring. No. Do you mean is it boring? It's been a slow, dreading process?
Well, I mean, how sometimes, obviously when the 16 weeks is already passed and you look back and wow, I have changed so much.
Yeah.
But maybe at week 5, you were like, man, I just want this to hurry up. If I could just drop 3 kilograms every week, I'd really appreciate that.
No, because I think the slower I think it's a good, I wouldn't say I wanted it any faster. I think if I'd lost it faster, I would have been, how am I going to maintain this? I think being, saying one kilo a week is good in terms of being able to maintain that long term. I think that's really important for me because my weight has fluctuated. One of the most important things is obviously losing the weight, but also being able to maintain my weight goal. I wouldn't say it's been excruciating. I think what was excruciating is the frustration of being able to run because of the weight I was carrying. That was can I please lose 10 kilos now so I could run? Mm-hmm. But in terms of the whole weight loss process and the whole journey so far, I would say 1 kilo a week's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's amazing too. Yeah, and if it does happen faster than that, there are other kind of complications that can happen too. And just as you say, there is more likelihood that you might almost find that you reach the goal too quickly and that it's overwhelming, and then you can't maintain what you're doing, and then there's a bounce. But just on that, so from here, 6 months from now, so 6 months from now, what would you have to have achieved in order to say, wow, I am so damn proud of who I am, along with what I have achieved?
Yeah. 6 months. So I'm hoping to have hit my weight loss goal within 6 months.
Do you want to tell them? Are you allowed to say what that is? Like,
I think I'll be happy when I hit 70 kgs.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping by then that would be a good 10 months, roughly 10, even a bit longer actually. I would be happy to hit my goal within a year. Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. I think that would be approximately 40 kilos in 12 months, which I think would be incredible. I'd be very happy with that. You know what, I think really for me in 6 months to be able to provide consistency and be able to incorporate exercises, just like brushing my teeth, being able to just be active and feel healthy and feel good about myself, and for it to maybe not be focused so much on the weight loss and being able, like, you know, the calorie counting and all that, making it, you know, more about pure enjoyment. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'll be really happy once that happens. Also, yeah, just generally in terms of my health, like being able to run comfortably. I think right now that's my new sort of goal that I've started, and I think within 6 months, if I'm able to run comfortably without dying, I'll be really happy with that. But yeah, in terms of, I think really for me, it's you know, maintaining that healthy lifestyle and making it a part of my normal life. Yeah.
And so I'm going to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And just ask, so compared to who you were before, and so we talked about how you're a bit more anxious and maybe a little bit less disciplined, and kind of what values, and I know it's a hard question, we have talked about it a bit though off air, but what top 5 values, what are the top 5 things that you either kind of want the way that you use your time, or the way that your body is, to what do you want those things to say about you? And so, for example, it could just be confidence, in which case it's not about what your body looks like, it's just the way you move.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think for the biggest, like in terms of values wise, being able to, go out with friends and feel comfortable about who I am, and, and not be, feel so, what's the word? Like I feel like when I was overweight, I couldn't feel comfortable within my own skin. I wouldn't talk up, or so. Obviously be more confident and be more social with people, not having to, be like, oh, I can't go to the party because I don't have a dress that fits me. Things like that. Be more confident, be more social. I think I'm more grounded now. Absolutely. Whereas before I was just a complete mess. I can think more clearly now. I'm more focused. I have a lot more goals in terms of where I want to be in life. Whereas before, I was very unhappy, so I didn't think about the future. In terms of family, I think family is really important to me in terms of beliefs. And even having my own family down the track, I think that's really important in terms of my values. Also, another thing that we've sort of spoken about is security. Yep. So, being able to, have a job and be happy in that job, and, provide a lifestyle for myself. And that includes being physical and being active. So, and health. Absolutely, health. You can't have any of that stuff without health. So this whole process has been life-changing in terms of, I can walk down the street without being puffed out. So, it's a really big deal. I was concerned about, internally what was happening with all the food I was consuming, and So yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, and now the last two things, right? Before we wrap all of this up, is for the girls out there and the women that are feeling anxious, overwhelmed, maybe feeling like why bother trying because I'm not going to make it anyway. Why make goals? Because that's the first stage towards kind of failing them. If I can't get it done perfectly, then why do it at all? Basically, just wait. The girls that were where you were at before, or in bad relationships, where they feel like they can't be who they want to be. How would you say? How would you motivate them, or what do you think will be the first small steps that they could do to begin their journey towards being their stronger self?
Yeah, like that's a really tough one. It really is, because it would be different for everyone, I guess. I think there was a little part of me that did have faith. Yeah. I think it's really important to back yourself. Absolutely believe in yourself. That is a really tough one. I think don't overthink it. Really, I think overthinking it was just will kill it. So just give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. You can either stay the way that you are, or give it a shot, and if there's a change, then there's a change. It's just it's one of those things where you either choose to stay the same and not do anything about it and be miserable, or you at least try to do something about it, and then at least you've tried, I think. Get out there. Just try. I know, some mornings where I didn't want to go for those walks, I was just try to focus on the positives of how I felt after the walk. To try and focus purely on, why it felt so good. This is good. This is working. This is what makes me happy. I think that's really important. People don't do things out of joy anymore. They just do it out of, obligation or because they have to. So the walking for me was definitely the key point to all of this. And obviously the trip to Thailand and ending my relationship. I'm not going to say, if you're in a bad relationship, end it. It was just one of those things where I knew I deserved better. Yeah. And so going back to not thinking too much, stop making excuses. That's what I did for years. Made excuses all the time for the reason that I was, the way that I was. Take ownership. Yeah.
Beautiful. And the very last thing is there anything that you listen to or that you seek motivation from that the girls can look up or listen to, or anything like that?
Matt's Facebook group, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And Michael Morsley's 800 book. Yep. I definitely use that a lot in terms of recipes, and when I get stuck on ideas for food, that is definitely a really good resource to have. Just going back to the Facebook group, watching the girls do their stuff, hitting their goals, whether it be their food prep for the week or exercises that they're smashing out, it just makes I get emotional about it sometimes, because I'm like, if they can do it, why can't I? And that's what really drives me. And even putting posts up like that is so empowering, because it just makes you think, if I feel so good about doing this, I can't imagine I might be, reaching out to someone that might be feeling really down today, that, might be inspired by this. So it's everything. Like, mostly it's food related stuff, because I think a lot of girls do struggle with the food stuff. But it's also, Matt's weekly post about progress. I think that makes everyone really accountable, and it's good to know what other girls are doing and what they're achieving and what their goals are. And it's varied. That's what I love about it. It's like, it's not, all about weight loss. It could be about strength. It could be just purely about food related stuff. It's all different for everyone. And so it could be, the cycling or marathons or any events that are happening that people have done really well in. So I think it's a really good resource to have, and it's such community, which is great. Yeah. Was it just 2 that you wanted, or did you want
I wanted 3.
You wanted 3?
You've also got obviously the Fast 800 book, which is wonderful. But I would just, because I want you to throw something out that's not from me.
Not from you?
Not from me.
Oh, I was going to say you. I was going to say the most important person is you. Absolutely. You're like the biggest resource. You're just like an open book. Look, one thing that does motivate me is looking at photos of my old self. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. That's it used to be depressing, actually. Like, when I was, before this whole journey, my mum used to put a fridge up, and every time she'd open it, she'd be like, "Oh, that used to be you. Remember that?" But now, it drives me. Yeah, it drives me. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's amazing how something can go from being incredibly painful and almost envious, to then becoming inspiring. And I think that's really about that just says you switch from perhaps a slight victim mode, or at the very least where you're not in control, to then taking control and forcing the change, or making it happen. But
I'm also trying on clothes as well. Every week I try on this pair of jeans, and it's getting a little bit looser and a little bit looser and a little easier to get on. So that's what drives me as well.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. That is now a lot of things that almost everyone can get the benefit of at all times. So thank you very much for coming down. Really appreciate it. And I think we're very honoured to have you open up about that story, because that is very personal, and I'm sure that someone out there is going to really, really benefit from it and start to take action. And I think that's the biggest thing. And if taking action is literally just as simple as going for a walk and getting started, because that's the simplest seed that you spoke about of where everything grew from. It did come after the breakup, but anyway. So thank you so much, and I look forward to doing an interview with you in 3 to 4 months' time.
Yes.
When you're like, we nailed it, everything's done, and now my only difficulty is all the goals and all the events that I have to be inspired about every year. Anyway, there's another story.
Yes.
But,
can't wait.
Thank you, and I look forward to doing that interview with you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.